about to see is a bib, but it's short. The names are made up, but the problems are real.
It was Monday, 9:43 a.m., and it was nearly impossible to move in the Big Apple. Planes were stacked over JFK. Trains were stuck at Grand Central. A catering truck had spilled its load of BLTs on the BQE. Buses were DOA on the LIE. Westchester commuters had become laconic on the Taconic. And, as usual, a tractor-trailer had overturned on the eastbound Cross Bronx Expressway, backing traffic out to Allentown. Luckily, I could walk to work, and so could my partner, George Frankley. We were working the day watch out of Mathnet. The captain is Joe Greco. My name is Monday. I'm a mathematician. Morning, Clark. How's trip?
Hi, Kate. Kate? Okay, I guess.
What are you looking at, George?
Well, from here they look like ants.
Oh, the people on the street?
No, the bugs in the windowsill. Look at them.
I've seen ants, George.
I wonder how long it took them to get up here. That's a long walk for an ant.
Maybe they took an elevator.
Maybe. How was your weekend, Kate?
I was about to ask you the same thing, George.
Mine was good. Martha and I went to see that new musical in preview, I Hear America Grepsing. It was a toe-tapping romp across the Broadway boards, Kate. What did you do?
I went to the Museum of Natural History.
I thought you went there once.
George, it's one of the largest museums in the country. I've been there dozens of times.
Oh. I was there. Saw a dinosaur.
Uh-huh.
It was dead.
Mathnet Monday. No, we're not expecting anyone like that. Sure, send them in. We've got visitors.
Miss Monday? Mr. Frankley?
Yes, I'm Kate Monday. This is my partner, George.
Frankly, Mathnet. Who are you?
I can't tell you.
Okay. Who are you?
His name's Terry. And, well, you can call me Terry.
What can we do for you, Terry?
Well, I'm sorry I have to be so mysterious about this, but, well, I just do, that's all. See, I've come to ask for your help for my father.
Your father?
Yes, my father. He's the Masked Avenger.
The Masked Avenger?
The professional wrestler?
Yes, you've heard of him?
Who hasn't?
I haven't.
George, the Masked Avenger is probably the best-known wrestler in the world. Why, he's an incredible athletic specimen. He's never been beat. He's a world champion, isn't that right, Terry?
Yes, he is.
In fact, there's a tournament going on right now to decide who will be his next opponent for the title.
Oh, yes, I read about it. It's called The Good versus the Bad and the Ugly.
Yes, the winner wrestles my father at the end of the week, but that's where the problem comes in.
What problem? The Masked Avenger can lick that whole crowd of stumblebums with one arm tied behind him. When he gets into a scorpion leg lock at the flying body press, there's no one that can beat him.
Kate, I didn't know you were such a fan.
Well, I'm not a fan, really. I just like to stay current. What's your father's problem, Terry?
This. It was in his dressing room last night at the gym where he works out.
To the Masked Avenger, you will lose the championship fight, or we'll tell the whole world about March 13th, 1968. It's signed the Mob.
The threat. Terry, why did your father come to see us?
Because he must have complete anonymity. Nobody knows who he is in real life, and it has to stay that way.
What happened March 13th, 1968?
I don't know.
Come on, Terry. If you won't tell us the truth.
But that is the truth, Mr. Frankley. I asked my father, and he wouldn't tell me anything. He just... well, he said it was awful.
Well, I'm not sure what your father wants us to do, Terry.
Well, he wants you to catch these people who are threatening him.
From this note? This note could have been left by anyone. We have to have more to go on, Terry.
Well, you've got to do something.
Well, maybe we could meet with your father.
No, I don't think so. My father hates meetings. He says that they never start on time and that they last too long.
Well, without knowing more about this case, I'm afraid we can't help you, Terry.
Okay, all right, I'll ask him. But if he does agree, he's probably going to send you a coded message. That's just another one of his quirks. Come on, Terry.
Is this where they're auditioning Secret Pets?
Hello, Benny.
Hi, Benny. Believe it or not, that was the daughter of a very famous personality.
Lassie, Benji, Rin Tin Can.
The Masked Avenger.
Really? How many in the litter?
The little girl is the Masked Avenger's daughter.
Ever heard of him?
Are you kidding? He's a good guy in wrestling.
See, George?
He's rough and tough and hard to bluff, and 10 opponents aren't half enough. There's a tournament in town.
Right. Here it is. Listen to the guys in this tournament. Abdullah the Butcher. Chainsaw Charlie. Flaming Narcissist. Wow. Shoeless Tom McCann. Bruce, the cake decorator.
Those are the bad and the ugly.
The Masked Avenger can take them.
Oh, I can leave them. What's this? Odds?
What do you mean?
Odds. You can bet on these fights? I thought sports betting was illegal.
Oh, this is an exception. The money they raise goes to charity.
That's good. There's some pretty long odds here. Here's a guy at 100 to 1. Another at 75 to 1. Another at 99 to 1.
Makes no difference what the odds are. The Masked Avenger...
Can take them all!
Well, he can. You ever seen him fight, Benny?
Yeah, I saw him put an inside step-over eye gouge on the compactor once.
Inside step over.
I saw him beat Cheese at the Cop with a leapfrogging pile driver.
Ever seen him turn an atomic knee drop into a press slam? I saw him beat Bullet Brain Barnes with that combination in 1984.
I remember that man.
I saw him put a full Beezer tweezer on Puck the Comic Weekly in 1066. Well, maybe it was 1067.
Some of us take our wrestling seriously, George.
I never would have guessed.
Who may I say is scratching?
It's Steevn. Come here, boy.
What's that under his collar?
Note. Thanks, Steevn. You can go now.
Maybe he's waiting for his tip.
What's it say?
Doesn't make any sense, and it isn't signed. It's a funny little drawing.
It's from the Masked Avenger. That's his logo. Fig Edit Meat Elf Handy Me Ohio Banana. Park Dainty Ramp Bench. Bacon Acre West Card. Hairdo 6040 Cab. Force Jam Waffle Noon June Spoon.
Up here, picture of a tree.
Must be a code. What kind of tree?
I don't know, just a tree.
Put tree with each word in the message.
Okay. 1. Tree fig. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
What's next?
2. Tree edit. Nothing. 3. Tree meat. Still nothing.
Wait, you said 3, then tree.
So,
Tree and tree rhyme. Maybe the code is...
every third word? Let's try it.
Fig, edit, meat. Meat is the third word. Elf, handy, me. Me is the next third word.
Meet me.
Okay, next is park, then bench,
Meet me, park bench.
Bacon Acre West, 64th.
Meet me, park bench, West 64th.
Noon. That's it.
Meet me, park bench, West 64th noon.
Park bench on West 64th?
That's 64th. It must be Central Park West and 64th.
How do you know? There could be a park bench somewhere else on 64th.
Not on West 64th, there isn't. From there, 64th heads up to the Hudson River. There are no park benches in between.
Let's give it a go, shall we?
Let's.
My cab waits below.
Can we make it by noon, Benny?
We could if these people would get off my streets.
Move over, you road hog! Is that the kind of language a substitute teacher uses, Benny?
I'm on a break.
We arrived at Central Park West and 64th with a minute to spare. George and I saw a park bench and sat on it. No one was in sight.
You know what I hope hard?
Uh-huh.
That this is the right park bench.
It is.
You the masked Avenger?
I am.
How do we know?
Tim.
He.
Avenger, your daughter sent us to help you.
I know. Gamblers are after me.
Do you know who they are?
No, I don't. But they know me. Or more precisely, something about me.
What's that? What happened March 13th, 1968?
Something my millions of fans must never know.
Why not?
Because I am an idol. Children throughout the world look up to me. I am honest and loyal and fair and just and clean living. And I can't let them down.
If we're going to help you, you have to trust us. What happened March 13th, 1968?
When I first started in a fight game, I wrestled under another name.
What was it?
Couldn't tame.
I know that one. Ask me another and I'll tell you the same.
On March 13th, 1968, there was this fight. My opponent, the Flying Hun, he died.
You killed a man?
No. He had a heart attack and collapsed after the fight. He never should have been in the ring.
What do you mean?
There was a hearing. It turned out he had a history of heart problems and forged his medical records. Nevertheless, fighters, press, the public, everyone named me Killer Puddin'.
So Killer Puddin' quit the business.
That's right. I stopped fighting for a year, but I realized that the game was in my blood. I had to wrestle. It's my life.
So you made a comeback?
Yes, as the man millions know and love today as the Masked Avenger.
So the gamblers found out about this and they're trying to blackmail you?
Yes,
They want you to throw the fight?
yes,
Take a dive?
yes,
Go in the tank?
yes,
What they'll tell on you?
yes.
Avenger, your fans will understand. The man who died, well, it was an accident.
I can't take that chance.
You've got to tell the public. They'll stick by you and the gamblers will be out of business.
And they won't have anything to threaten you with. You've got to tell the truth.
It's the only honorable thing to do and you have no other choice.
Wrong. I have one other choice.
You mean?
Yes. I could throw the fight.
The story you are about to see is a fib, but it's short. The names are made up, but the problems are real.
It was Tuesday, 9:43 a.m., and New York began to open her arms to enfold me. Although I knew the city would never have the warmth, charm, and especially the culture of my real home, Los Angeles, I had to admit, NYC was growing on me. My partner is George Franklin. The captain is Joe Greco. We were working the day watch out of Mathnet. My name is Monday. I'm a mathematician. When you've been in the Mathnet biz as long as we have, not much surprises you. But yesterday we were surprised. We decided to look at scenes from yesterday's show to be surprised all over again. It began when a young girl wearing a mask and a middle-aged dog wearing a mask entered the office and said,
I've come to ask for your help for my father.
Your father?
Yes, my father. He's the Masked Avenger.
The Masked Avenger is the world champion of wrestling. A man who stood for justice and fairness. A man who didn't know the meaning of fear. And a lot of other words, too. We asked his daughter, what's your father's problem, Terry?
This. It was in his dressing room last night at the gym where he works out.
To the Masked Avenger, you will lose the championship fight, or we'll tell the whole world about March 13th, 1968. It's signed the Mob. His daughter didn't know what March 13th, 1968 referred to, and we told her we would have to meet with her father. He coveted his anonymity and disliked meetings because...
My father hates meetings. He says that they never start on time and that they last too long.
Later, we received a coded message from the Masked Avenger and set to work deciphering it.
Up here, picture of a tree.
Must be a code. What kind of tree? With our friend Benny, we set to work. A wrestling tournament was going on in New York as we spoke. It was called The Good versus the Bad and the Ugly. The winner among these villains would fight the Avenger for the title. Obviously, somebody didn't want that fight to take place.
3 and tree rhyme. Maybe the code is
Every third word? Let's try it.
meet me, park bench, West 64th.
Noon. That's it. We found the bench, and behind it, the Masked Avenger. He told us what happened on that fateful night. Killed a man?
No. He had a heart attack and collapsed after the fight. He never should have been in the ring.
That was years ago, but the Avenger had donned a mask, changed his name, and gone on fighting. But he didn't want this old news to get out. He didn't want his millions of fans to know. The gamblers were going to tell them unless.
They want you to throw the fight?
Yes.
Take a dive?
Yes.
Go in the tank?
Yes.
What they'll tell on you?
Yes.
We tried to talk the Masked Avenger into telling the truth.
It's the only honorable thing to do, and you have no other choice.
Wrong. I have one other choice.
You mean?
Yes. I could throw the fight.
George Franklin, you're so graphic.
Good morning, wrestling fans. How was your evening, Kate?
Uneventful. I didn't do much. Thought about going to a movie, but I stayed home and had Chinese instead.
Chinese what?
Food, George. What, by the way, in the heck are you doing?
It is my present to you, Kate.
Thanks. I don't know how I've gotten along all these years without whatever that is.
It's a tournament bracket, Kate. See here?
Uh-huh.
If you come here, I'll explain. In this column are all the wrestlers in the tournament.
What are these numbers?
Those are the betting odds on each of the fighters.
Betting odds?
Right. And the lower the ratio, the greater the chance of success. A fighter at, say, 2 to 1 is more likely to win than a fighter at 25 to 1.
Says who?
Pardon?
Who decides who has a better chance?
You mean who sets the odds? Experts, Kate. In this case, the odds were set by the Global Wrestling Committee.
And they use them betting on the fights?
Sure. The experts make the compactor 25 to 1. That means if you bet $1 and he wins...
I get $25.
Right.
And if I bet $100 and he won...
You'd win $2,500.
How about this? 5 to 8.
Those are low odds. They mean if you bet 8 units and the guy wins, you'd collect 5 units.
What do these lines mean?
Those are the matches. This guy fights this guy. Let's say this guy wins. His name goes out here. Then, this guy fights this guy. The winner goes here.
Gotcha. And then they fight, and the winner goes on this line.
Eventually, you get a winner among these 15 guys, and he will fight the Masked Avenger.
How many fights will there be?
You don't have to count. There are 15 guys, and you have to get down to 1 left.
Of course. 1 winner and 14 losers. So that means there are 14 matches.
You got it. Each match eliminates exactly 1 wrestler.
There's a 1-to-1 correspondence between matches and losers.
It's very much like the pigeonhole principle.
The what?
The pigeonhole principle. We discussed it on the plane trip from L.A.
I guess I must have dozed off.
You were awake all right. Remember? I went over it from Denver, Colorado to Johnstown, PA. Goes like this.
See, I recognize most of these wrestlers, but who is Bai?
Bai? Well, Bai isn't a wrestler. Bai is, well, it's sort of like a free pass. There are 15 fighters in the tournament, right?
Right. Oh, I see. 15 is an odd number, but we need an even number because each match needs 2 opponents.
Yep. We have 1 wrestler without anyone to wrestle. He gets a bye and moves on to this point as if he had a match and won it.
George, what if a tournament started with, say, 59 contestants? How many matches do they have to fight?
Work backwards. To get there, you have to end up with 2 wrestlers for the championship. And to get there, you need 4. Or 2 squared.
And to get there, we needed 8.
2 to the 3rd. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And to get there,
16, or 2 to the 4th. Then 2 to the 5th is 32.
2 to the 6th is 64. That takes care of the 59 contestants.
And to even it off, we would need
64 minus 59 is 5. 5 buys.
who decides who gets the buys?
The fighters or their managers literally draw names out of a hat to see who gets to sit out a match. In this case, the guy's name was Dr. Snooze.
Fascinating. So by following the tournament, we can keep the results right here.
Yep.
George, you're a sweetheart.
Oh, sure. What are you doing here?
Hi, Benny. We work here, remember?
But you're gonna miss the press conference.
What press conference?
It's a good thing somebody around here is streetwise. The Masked Avenger is holding a press conference in 20 minutes at the Helmless Plaza Hotel.
What is it about?
I don't know. They interrupted a Mozart concerto I was listening to on the cab radio, and they said the Masked Avenger had an important announcement.
Let's roll. Benny, what do you think the Avenger is going to say?
Really want to know?
Shoot.
I think he's going to drop out of the tournament.
That's ridiculous. The Masked Avenger wouldn't quit.
Now, under the circumstances,
His 2 other options suck wind.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story. I know it isn't pretty, but I only hope that my fans will understand. I want to make wrestling a kinder and gentler sport, and I will stand and fight these criminal elements. I stand for truth and honesty and beauty, which is only skin deep, of course. Do you think John Coward would have made a good Secretary of Defense? Nice try, boy, yes, sir. If you're murder, you're allowed it.
That took guts, Avenger.
Not really. I thought a lot about what you said yesterday, and you were right. I'm a man who has dedicated his life to truth and justice.
We dropped somewhere, Avenge?
My car's right here. And other important American standards. I had only one real choice. Remember what Harry S. Truman said. When the going gets tough, the tough...
Whoever owns that heat's really going to be mad.
You're right. I am.
That was your car?
And I was almost in it.
The story you are about to see is a fib, but it's short. The names are made up, but the problems are real.
It was Wednesday, 9:43 a.m., and mid-year sales at exclusive stores throughout Manhattan had consumers reeling. Saks was having a sale. Sales was having a Saks. Pre-holiday sales were late this year, but post-holiday sales were early, so that worked out. Restaurants were so crowded along the avenue, Fifth Avenue, that folks couldn't find a spot for late supper and were forced to have breakfast at Tiffany's. My partner is George Franklin. The captain is Joe Greco. We were working the day watch out of Mathnet. My name is Monday. I'm a mathematician. We were involved in an interesting case. Mobsters were trying to ruin one of America's heroes. They were trying to unmask the Masked Avenger. We decided to look at earlier scenes to review our facts. The Masked Avenger was being blackmailed by gamblers for an accident which had occurred many, many years ago, but it was a secret the Avenger didn't want his fans to know. Killed a man?
No. He had a heart attack and collapsed after the fight. He never should have been in the ring.
We tried to tell the Avenger to level with his wrestling fans. Wrestling fans will buy anything.
It's the only honorable thing to do, and you have no other choice.
Wrong. I have one other choice.
You mean?
Yes. I could throw the fight.
While we waited for the mob or the Avenger to make the next move, George indulged my fondness for wrestling and explained how the tournament presently going on actually worked.
It's a tournament bracket, Kate. See here?
Uh-huh.
In this column are all the wrestlers in the tournament.
What are these numbers?
Those are the betting odds on each of the fighters.
Although you can't bet on most wrestling matches, this tournament was an exception because the proceeds were going to charity. George told me about odds.
The experts make the compactor 25 to 1. That means if you bet $1 and he wins...
I get $25.
Right.
And if I bet $100 and he won?
You'd win $2,500.
How about this? 5 to 8.
Those are low odds. They mean if you bet 8 units and the guy wins, you'd collect 5 units.
This was fascinating mathematics. But then Benny came in to tell us the Masked Avenger was holding a press conference.
What is it about?
I don't know. They interrupted a Mozart concerto I was listening to on the cab radio. And they said the Masked Avenger had an important announcement.
We hightailed it to the press conference just in time to hear the Masked Avenger say,
I want to make wrestling a kinder and gentler sport. And I will stand and fight these criminal elements.
We congratulated the Avenger on his decision and walked him to his car when suddenly...
Whoever owns that heap's really gonna be mad.
You're right. I am.
That was your car?
And I was almost in it.
Any surprises in last night's matches, George?
Oh, hi, Kate. Good morning. I was just bringing the old chart up to date. If you're hungry, there's a Danish on my desk.
Danish what?
A Danish what? What do you mean a Danish what?
Well, the other day I said I had Chinese for dinner, and you said, Chinese what?
Yeah, so that was Chinese. This is Danish. I don't see what the one has to do with the other.
You're right.
And yes, as a matter of fact, there was a surprise. Bruce the cake decorator beat Macho Murray. Kaboom won again.
Kaboom is a favorite.
So is the flaming narcissist. He beat Call Off the Dog in 2 out of 3.
Chainsaw Charlie got beat?
That was an upset. He was beaten by Dr. Snooze.
Dr. Snooze. I don't know much about him.
He was the guy who had the bye in the first round.
Right, and he fights the flaming narcissist next. George, what's this?
I don't know. I can't see it from here.
Elf Mob Handy wants Eagle to Yap meat. Salt with banana me icing or navel else. Ramp I dabbled said hairdo no waffles? It was another code. Only instead of a tree giving us an indicator, there was a shoe. Tree 3, shoe 2. We tried every second word. The coded message read, Mob wants to meet with me or else. I said no. We were sorry the Avenger had turned down the meeting. We could have bugged him with microphones and gotten important evidence against the mob. We could only hope that they would contact him again, and he would contact us, because there was no way we could contact him.
Kate, what if
What?
What if you wanted to find out my phone number? What would you do?
I'd ask you. Oh, okay. I'd look it up in the phone book.
Exactly.
George, you don't honestly believe that a man who has shrouded himself in mystery and anonymity for all these years would...
I know it's a long shot, But what the heck? Why not begin with common sense?
You going to just start calling numbers, George?
That would be one way to find them, I guess.
George, I happen to know there are more than 7 million numbers listed in the New York phone books.
That's a lot.
Do you know how many numbers are listed on each page in the phone book?
Nope.
About 600.
600.
Yes. Say you could call what? 6 numbers in a minute and just ask if you'd reach the Avenger?
Sounds about right.
600 divided by 6, 100. 100 minutes. That's an hour and 40 minutes per page, George. How many pages in that phone book?
Almost 1,700.
1,700 pages at an hour and 2/3 per page. That's 1,700 hours plus 2/3 more. 2/3 of that is about 1,133 plus the 1,700, 2,833. George, it would take you 2,833 hours to call every number in that phone book.
Uh-huh.
There are 24 hours in a day. That's 118 days. And that's just the phone book for one borough, albeit the largest, but there are 4 other boroughs in New York. So, although it would be a bit of an overestimate, it nevertheless comes to 590 days to call every number in the 5 boroughs, and that doesn't even take into account all the unlisted numbers and eating.
Ah, here it is. Avenger. The Masked.
What?
Murray Hill, 674. Rats. Got his machine. Avenge, this is George Frankly, MathNet. We have reason to believe the mob is going to contact you again. If they do, set up a meeting with them and then contact us. Happy trails.
George, you never cease to amaze me. Then again.
And I've got another idea, Kate.
Miss Monday, Mr. Frankly, they've got Terryun.
What?
Terryun, my doggy, they've dog-napped him.
Who dog-napped him?
The dog catcher.
The dog catcher took your dog? What did the dog do?
He didn't do anything.
Well, dog catchers don't usually pick up dogs who don't do anything.
He wasn't a dog catcher either, I bet.
Terry, slow down and act from the beginning. What happened?
All right. I was walking Terryun on 23rd Street near 12th Avenue.
When?
It was just a few minutes ago.
And?
And I was going to my favorite bookstore, Words and Brew, when this van pulled up, and at a stoplight, a man got out.
And?
And he said that he was a city dog catcher and that Terryun's license had expired. And then he grabbed Terryun, and before I could do anything, he put him in an empty van, and he handed me a phone number, and he told me to call, and then he just drove away.
Did you call the number?
Yes, Miss Monday, I did. And I heard Terryun and a bunch of other dogs barking, too. And, well, then he gave me an order.
An order?
Yes, he ordered me to have my father take a meeting with them, or I'd never see my doggy alive again.
Some dog catcher. Probably one of the mob.
And then he told me to call again at 1 o'clock.
That's about now.
Yes, I know.
Terry, when exactly did they nab Terryun? Can you remember?
Yes, it was exactly noon. I know that because I looked at the clock in the bookstore window.
How long after did you call?
10 minutes?
Exactly?
Exactly.
Wonder how far they could have got in 10 minutes.
How far could who have gotten in 10 minutes?
Hey, Benny.
Sorry about the Dodgers, George.
Benny, this is the Masked Avenger's daughter, Terry.
Hiya, Terry. Nice to not know you.
Terry's dog was stolen at noon, Benny.
She talked to the dog nappers 10 minutes later. We're trying to figure out how far they could have got in that amount of time.
Where did the snatch occur?
Beg your pardon?
That's Benny's quaint way of asking you where you were when they swiped Terryun. Show us.
Was about here. 23rd and 12th.
Let's see. The van could have averaged about 25 miles an hour.
10 minutes is 1/6 of an hour, so they could go about 1/6 of 25, which is about 4 miles.
Okay. We'll just draw a circle with a radius of 4 miles, and they've got to be somewhere within that circle.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold up. No way. Nobody can average 25 miles an hour in Manhattan in the middle of the day. Traffic is a killer, for one thing.
Where could they have gotten?
Excuse me? From here, I can tell you where they could have not got to. Not through here.
Why not?
There was a water main break, and traffic has been closed through here and here since 10 this morning.
Oh.
And they couldn't have gone up this way because of the annual Manny Meshuggah Festival. Clobbers traffic from here to there.
Well, if all those streets were closed, traffic must have really been awful.
It was. I would say at that time of day, they couldn't have gotten any further than here to the north, here to the south, forget about the east, and about here to the west. And they didn't have time to get to Jersey through the tunnel.
Shouldn't I call the dog catcher now, Mr. Franklin?
Yes, you should. And set up a meeting.
No, my father won't meet with them.
Terry, set up the meeting.
Okay. Yes, hello. Are you the dog catcher? Yes, this is Terryun's mother. Is he all right? Well, how do I know that? Could I speak with him? Hi, Terryun. Hi, puppy. Oh, I love you. Good boy. All right. Yes, I'm satisfied. Yes, I have set a meeting. It will be tonight at 10 p.m. Where? On the docks, Ferry Place, Brooklyn. All right. Goodbye.
Well, George, now all you have to do is talk the Avenger into going to the meeting. Good luck.
Does your dad have an extra Avenger suit, Terry?
Yeah, I just picked it up at the cleaners.
You take the Avenger's costume to a regular dry cleaner's? Aren't you afraid it will be recognized?
Nah, the dry cleaners in Soho.
Why do you need another uni, George?
Because the masked Avenger is not going to this meeting.
Who is?
George Franklin, masked netter.
The story you are about to see is a fib, but it's short. The names are made up, but the problems are real.
It was Wednesday, 5:43 p.m., and tourists had invaded this cosmopolitan mecca. Tourists had come to drink in the majestic splendor of the architecturally superb buildings as their steel spires reached like strong fingers to a heaven heavy laden with cloud. They came to see the Great White Way and the Statue of Liberty. They came to browse the culturally rich museums which dot the Big Apple cityscape, and they caused horrendous traffic jams with their endless gawking. My partner is George Franklin. The captain is Joe Greco. We were working the night watch out of Mathnet. My name is Monday. I'm a mathematician. We were trying to solve a frustrating set of problems. When faced with frustrating problems, often it's a good idea to go over the facts. That's why we decided to view Emmy-seeking scenes from earlier shows. One of America's heroes, the Masked Avenger, a wrestler without peer, was being blackmailed by a mob of gamblers. They wanted him to purposely lose the upcoming championship match. He stood up to them and said,
I want to make wrestling a kinder and gentler sport, and I will stand and fight these criminal elements.
it was a brave thing to do, but it didn't take the mob long to retaliate.
Get them.
They blew up his car. Luckily, he wasn't in it at the time. We continued to watch the wrestling tournament to see who was going to fight the Masked Avenger. I asked George if there were any surprises in last night's matches.
And yes, as a matter of fact, there was a surprise. Bruce the cake decorator beat Macho Murray. Kaboom won again.
Kaboom is a favorite.
So is the flaming narcissist. He beat Call Off the Dog in 2 out of 3.
As we continued to ponder the tournament, we got another coded message from the Masked Avenger. Only this time, he changed the code. It was another code. Instead of a tree giving us an indicator, there was a shoe. Tree, 3, shoe, 2. We tried every second word. The coded message read, mob wants to meet with me or else. I said no. We were sorry the Avenger had turned down the meeting. We could have bugged him with microphones and gotten important evidence against the mob. We could only hope that they would contact him again, and he would contact us, because there was no way we could contact him. But then the Avenger's daughter told us...
Terry-oon, my doggy, they've dog snapped him.
Terry told us someone posing as a dog catcher had snatched her dog, put him in a truck, and told her to contact him. Using Benny and his traffic expertise, we tried to get a rough estimate as to where they could have got to. Then Terry said...
Shouldn't I call the dog catcher now, Mr. Franklin?
Yes, you should. And set up a meeting.
Setting a meeting didn't seem like a good idea because the Avenger had already refused to take one. Then George said...
Does your dad have an extra Avenger suit, Terry?
Yeah, I just picked it up at the cleaners.
It was becoming all too clear to me, George's plan, I mean. The masked Avenger wasn't going to take the meeting. Guess who was?
George Franklin, masked netter.
George, can you hear me?
Yes, Kate.
I've got you covered here, George. If they try anything, don't worry. We've got backup.
Okay, Kate. Is my television picture coming through?
Perfectly.
This camera's starting to give me a tummy ache.
Couldn't be helped. It gives us perfect point of view pictures. Be careful.
Hey, Twinkle Toes. Over here.
Yeah? Okay. I can see you.
That's close enough, Avenger.
What do you want?
We want you to lose a fight. Remember?
If that's what you want, there's no reason for this tete-a-tete.
It's what?
It's French.
French, what?
He means head-to-head. Get together, a meeting.
I'm not gonna throw the fight.
Well, we think you will, Avenger. Because we're gonna give you something that you otherwise may not get.
What's that?
How much money are you getting to fight?
Nothing. All the money's going to charity.
Exactly. That's a lot of work for nothing. We're prepared to give you $100,000.
A bribe? No one bribes the masked Avenger. I stand for truth and honor and justice.
Okay. $250,000. Now that's $250,000.
You can buy a lot of truth and honor and justice
For $250,000.
George, I'm not getting a good picture. Bring them into the light.
Okay.
He's agreed. A verbal contract is binding.
I didn't agree. I was just thinking out loud. When someone offers me a bribe, I like to see with whom I'm dealing. Would you gentlemen mind stepping a little closer?
Yes, we would. Now what about the bribe? Are you gonna take it?
Move closer to them, George.
Okay.
That was a wise choice, Avenger. Congratulations. You get your money right after you lose the fight.
I didn't agree to anything. I was just moving closer.
Why?
I'm getting a little bit chilly.
Stop! There'll be a smorgasbord for the fish.
Okay.
Break off the meeting, George. Get out of there before something happens.
Right. I'm not going to take the bribe, gentlemen, but I am leaving this meeting. Good evening.
Not so fast, Avenger. Remember your kid's dog?
Sure.
We had no trouble grabbing him.
Of course not. He's a friendly dog.
We won't have any trouble grabbing your kid either.
You wouldn't.
We will if you don't lose the fight.
Tell him what?
Right?
She's in police.
Police what?
Police what?
Police what?
Police what?
What's going on here?
I'm not sure. Police something. Well, policeman's ball.
Policeman's ball.
Yes, she's going to the policeman's ball.
What's that got to do with anything?
She's in custody and is surrounded by cops.
Surrounded by cops.
What?
Yes. You're surrounded by cops. anything.
He's bluffing.
I meant, she's surrounded by cops. You can't get her.
Oh, we can get you.
Easy, Louie.
Louis, is it? I once knew a parrot named Louis. It was nicer than you.
We had hoped that it wouldn't have to come to this, Master Avenger.
Come to what?
Well, if you won't agree to lose the fight, I'm afraid your fate will be the same as the Flying Hun.
The Flying Hun. He was the man who died after the fight with Puddingtane.
Oh.
Surely you remember him, Avenger? Or, should I call you Puddingtane?
Oh, that Flying Hun. But he died.
Yeah.
In the ring.
Good evening, Master Avenger.
Pleasant dreams.
Come home, George. Thursday, 5:43 p.m., and we were no closer to knowing who the Avengers' enemies were than before. We had to keep plugging. Sometimes it's the only way to solve a problem.
Well, the tournament chart is up to date, Kate.
That's nice, George, but it doesn't help us get to the bottom of the problem.
I wish we could have swooped in and arrested those guys last night.
Sure, only...
I know. We don't have any evidence that would stand up in court.
Right. We can't tie those guys to gambling. It would be their word against the Avengers.
Yes, and it wasn't even the Avenger. It was I.
True. They could sue you for impersonating an athlete. So, who's winning the tournament?
Another upset last night. Dr. Snooze beat the Flaming Narcissist.
Really? So that puts him in the finals?
Yep. Kaboom beat Bruce the Cake Decorator.
In straight fall?
I doubt it. Anyway, the winner of the Kaboom Dr. Snooze match will fight the Masked Avenger for the title tomorrow night.
It'll be Kaboom. No doubt about that.
I don't know. Dr. Snooze has pulled a couple of major upsets, Kate.
But he's an underdog. 100 to 1 odds. He may have pulled one upset, but...
Kate, what if the mob bet on Dr. Snooze and...
fixed his fights?
Partner, I think we should have a little talk with Dr. Snooze's opponents. Let's see if they threw their fights.
Let's roll.
Harry, what's wrong?
A note?
What does it say?
It's from the mob. They say they kidnapped the Masked Avenger from his locker room.
Maybe it's a hoax. The Avenger's too smart for the likes of them.
Mask.
So he's got more than one mask.
Mathnet Monday. Who? Avenger. Are you all right? The mob has you. Where are they? It's got him.
The story you are about to see is a fib, but it's short. Relatively. The names are made up, but the problems are real.
It was Friday, 5:43 p.m., and the rain which had flooded the West Side Highway and the FDR Drive had stopped, and so had the high winds which had blown refuse in a dizzying display around Columbus Circle. Unfortunately, those elements had been replaced by sweltering heat which caused brownouts and dense fog which caused sweating. New York was a summer mestiful. My partner is George Franklin. The captain is Joe Greco. We were working the day watch out of Mathnet. My name is Monday. I'm a mathematician. Problems are fun to solve. I ought to know I've solved my share of them, but problems can also be maddening. Sometimes nothing seems to go right. The answers you thought were the truth turn out to be the untruth. The case of the Masked Avenger was one of those. We decided to try and get our facts together and look at scenes from earlier episodes to do just that. First of all, we were told by his daughter that America's favorite wrestler, the Masked Avenger, was being blackmailed. We arranged a meeting with him and... Killed a man?
No. He had a heart attack and collapsed after the fight. He never should have been in the ring.
What do you mean?
There was a hearing.
And if the Masked Avenger did not agree to lose the championship fight, the blackmailers would tell on him. But the Masked Avenger was no bald-faced liar. He said,
I want to make wrestling a kinder and gentler sport. And I will stand and fight these criminal elements.
The truth shall set you free. But while it's doing that, it also makes you vulnerable. First, the gamblers blew up his car. Then they threatened his daughter.
Terryun, my doggy, they've dog-tapped him.
Yes, they had stolen the child's dog, Terryun. She could be next. They would stop at nothing. Finally, a meeting was set between the bad guys and... the Masked Avenger? No, the bad guys and...
George Frankly. Masked Netter.
George took the dangerous meeting. He was wired with microphones and a mini video camera in hopes of getting evidence on the gamblers. It didn't work, and it ended with another threat.
But he died.
Yeah, in the rain.
Good evening, Masked Avenger.
Pleasant dreams.
Things were going from worse to more worse. And then we got a phone call that chilled the blood. Are you all right? The mob head. Where are they? Got him. We were still looking to grab onto the handle of this case. I asked our crack computer research staff to run an ID on Dr. Snooze, but so far no luck. And we still couldn't figure out what the mob hoped to gain by kidnapping the Masked Avenger. If he didn't show up for the fight, there would be no fight. If there was no fight, no one could win a bet, including the mob. So why did they snatch him?
You see the papers, Kate?
No, why?
Dr. Snooze upset Kaboom in 2 falls. Wasn't even close.
Hard to believe, George. I saw Kaboom use his flying staple puller to pin Mozart the composer 2 years ago. He was unbeatable.
Last night he wasn't. He lost, according to the paper, even though he used his famous hold, the spinning nudnik, and his sneak hold, the flaky poisson.
Did you talk to the other opponents Dr. Snooze fought?
Yes, and I'm convinced they didn't throw their fights. Chainsaw Charlie said he didn't know what hit him. He said he was winning the match, and suddenly he stared at Dr. Snooze's ring, and he just seemed to drift off, get drowsy. Next thing he knew, he was pinned to the mat.
And a flaming narcissist?
Same story. He said he never looked or felt better. Then Dr. Snooze got him in a nose throw, a hairdriver, a recurring nightmare, stared at his ring, and voila, it was all over. He just seemed to drift off in the ether.
Puzzling. But George, if the Masked Avenger can't fight, all bets are off.
Not this time, Kate. I checked.
What?
Because it's a special charity match, all bets are on. If an opponent doesn't show up, the other guy wins the match.
You mean it's a forfeit?
Yep. The Avenger doesn't show. Dr. Snooze wins the match by default.
We've got to find the Masked Avenger before fight time, George.
Easier said than done. We don't know who's got him or where he's been taken.
All we do know is that wherever he is, he's with a bunch of dogs.
Yeah, probably his earlier opponents.
You know something, George? We heard of the dogs when Terry talked to Terryun, too.
So?
So, it's a long shot, but maybe they're being held in the same place.
We know the Avenger was kidnapped about 6 p.m.
Yes, that's the last time Terry saw him. She left his dressing room, came back 2 minutes later, and found the note.
Right, and they called us at 6:18. That means they had about 18 minutes to get from Madison Square Garden to wherever.
Getting my drift?
Madison Square Garden is at 33rd between 7th and 8th.
Here. They had about 18 minutes. Where could they have got to?
I'll call traffic control and see if that area was clear.
Okay, and I'll answer the phone. Mathnet Monday. Oh, yes, Dan. Got anything on Dr. Snooze? I see. Really? That's very interesting. Thanks, Dan.
There's some tie-ups in that area, Kate. I'll block them out on the map.
I just got a little info on Dr. Snooze. His real name is Sidney Septum. He was a college professor at Michigan State University.
Where?
He was doing chemical research, looking for a compound that would keep athletes awake during practice. He left about a year ago to become a professional wrestler.
Uh-huh. That's not very interesting, Kate. But look at this.
What's this?
There was construction here, and the streets were totally blocked. Here, there was the annual Sweet Gee Whiz parade and dance party. so everything down here was totally blocked off. He could have traveled this way, or he could have traveled this way, but only up to here due to police activity.
George, look. This area overlaps this other area we mapped out.
You're right.
You two still playing with maps? Any news on the Avenger?
Hi, Benny. We're trying to puzzle it out.
Puzzle it out. Like Dirk Niblick?
You know Dirk Niblick?
I know of him is all.
George, what's the one thing the kidnapper's phone calls all had in common?
I don't know. They were short.
What else?
Same guy. I think it was one of the 3 guys I met that night.
You're forgetting about the dogs.
So, there were dogs barking.
Where do dogs bark?
Out of their fronts?
Dog pound! They could be keeping the Avenger and Terror unit a dog pound. It's a natural front for wrestling gamblers.
There must be a dog pound in this area.
Mm-mm. And they're not called dog pounds anymore. They're animal control facilities.
Okay. So there's got to be an animal control facility in this area.
Sorry. The only one in Manhattan's on 92nd in York. No way they could have gotten up there either time.
Besides, we're pretty sure they're in this area.
No dog pounds. Sorry. Animal control facilities.
Pet shop!
Are there any pet shops in this area, Benny?
Probably.
Let's look it up.
I think I may know how Dr. Snooze won his fights.
You're pretty sure they weren't fixed.
Yes. But his opponents all mentioned the special ring he wears.
That's nothing. Wrestlers like to be flamboyant. There was this guy, Mr. Shepard, wore a live goat.
Kate, you said this guy, Sidney Septon, was a chemist?
Yes,
Working on something to keep people awake?
right.
Suppose he never found the means to keep them awake, but
Found a way to put them to sleep. A gas, maybe.
something that could be concealed in a ring.
Well, strange things have happened.
When?
There are 3 pet shops in the area.
3? We can cover them.
Sure. We've only got 45 minutes until the fight. We'll have to hurry. If the Masked Avenger doesn't show up on time, Dr. Snooze wins, and so do the gamblers.
We can eliminate one of those shops.
How so?
It's called My Fine Feathered Friends.
Bird store?
Yeah.
Any news?
Plenty, Terry. Terry, when you call Terhune and he hears you, does he respond?
Or will he ever? He'll let go of the yelp that'll blow your ears off. Why?
George, how do you feel about fighting?
Oh, somewhere between getting sick to my stomach and being in a submarine wreck. Why?
Do you still have the Masked Avengers uni?
Yes, it's in my locker.
Put it on.
Why? The only stores I'll be able to get into are on the Lower East Side or Bloomies.
Benny, take George to the garden. George, you're going to impersonate the Masked Avenger and thwart that fixer.
You mean?
Yes. You're going to slip one for the chipper. Terry and I will get a squad of police and find the real Avenger.
Come on, George. I'll be in your corner.
What good will it do? It'll twist my torso into shreds.
That's okay. I want to be around to pick up the pieces when somebody breaks your heart. Now remember, George, start slow. Maybe you get him in a scissors hold.
What's a scissors hold?
That's where you jump in the air and you wrap your legs around his neck.
What if I miss?
Then you fall down on your head. Be careful he doesn't get you in a power slam.
A power slam?
Right. That's where he picks you up and slams you to the canvas. Head first.
Right. Benny, isn't there some other way?
Well, you try a bees or tweezer or a squatting leg cramp.
I don't know.
Be careful of him. You know what to do if he gets you in a half Nelson or full Nelson?
Do an impression of an Ozzie Nelson?
You do a double drop kick, you use a headbutt, and you turn it into a pile driver.
Oh, yeah. Guess it slipped my mind.
Well, let's go, champ.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, wearing an off-the-shoulder creation by Willie Glass, accented in colorful, attenuated patterns, and I must say, 50 leg warmers, the challenger, Dr. Snooze. boys know the rules.
Is he gonna fight without a muzzle?
No gouging, no butting, no pinching, and watch your language.
You call that a language?
That's right. Go to your corners, and may the better man emerge triumphant.
Benny, where's Kate? That's nuts.
She'll be here. Get in there and fight. Just watch out for a secret ring, okay?
What about his teeth? My brain's beat out.
I don't know, but you gotta stay away from him. If he pins you again, he wins.
I know. What should I do?
Running. Running's not a bad idea. Stay away from him. Get on your bike.
Did I tell you one about the two penguins and the runaway elk? No! Why did the trumpet player wear red suspenders? Keep his chops up.
All right.
Like knock-knock jokes?
No.
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Sam and Janet.
Sam and Janet who?
Sam and Janet Evening.
Now tell him the good jokes.
Knock-knock.
Who's there? Who?
Dr. Snooze.
Way to go! You got him on the rope, Steve!
Where's Kate? Where's the Avenger? Where's my mommy?
Get in there!
Seconds to get back in here. Avenger! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Thanks, Max Netter. I'll take it from here. Avenger, am I ever glad to see you?
These are the others. Arrest them.
All
right, you guys. Lock them up.
Let me up. Hey, unhand me. Unhand me, you maroon. Where's my hat? Hey, where's my hat? Where's my hat? Hey, take your minis off.
Officer, take Dr. Snooze and the medic out.
One more joke. Wait. Why did the dumb wrestler take a ruler to bed with him?
That's it. The ring, George.
To see how long he slept.
Get him out of here.
Are you okay, George?
I never felt better. Except for the pain.
And then Terry let out her dog howl. Terhune responded, and we nabbed him.
They untied me, and we got back to the fight just in time to win it for truth and justice and beauty and...
Oh, I don't know. I think I could have taken him without your help. I was just getting warmed up. Terhune, you remind me of Dr. Snooze, only your breath is sweeter.
The mob and Dr. Snooze were tried in Manhattan in and for the city of New York and convicted of a 135.20, kidnapping in the second degree, a 135.25, dognapping in the first degree, and a 180.4 sports bribing, for a total of 450 and 85 100ths. They were put away for a number of years where they could no longer interfere with wrestling, a swell sport.
Hi, I'm Stan Lee, and I have a big treat for you, and I know it's going to be a big treat for me. I'm here with one of the top talents in the comic book business, Jim Lee. Jim, it's great to see you.
How you do, Sam?
Listen, you know, we have the old gag about our parents are the only ones who can tell us apart, right? My namesake over here,
Right.
And I'm proud of it. Jim, before we get into the artwork and the things that everybody wants to see, I just want to know a little more about you. Don't ask me why, but where are you originally from? How did you get here? How were we lucky enough to have you?
Boy. Well, basically, I was born in Seoul, South Korea. We moved here when I was 5, and I remember drawing from the moment I can remember anything. I just remember I was 4 or 5, and a woman as a tutor, and she would teach me how to draw.
You had a tutor who taught you to draw?
Yeah,
I
I remember working in oil pastels, and she said, start with a light yellow crayon, then work on with darker values and things like that.
Wow.
I still feel I use that knowledge today. And then I took a lot of high school classes and things like that. I've always drawn and been pretty good at that. And then, but as I got older and had to be more serious about my life, I never really intended to become a comic book artist. I went to college and got a degree in psychology, and I was actually a pre-med when I was there, and something just didn't gel right. And
you know, I'm sorry you said you had a degree in psychology. I was feeling so nice and relaxed talking to you. Now I'm going to be all nervous and watching everything. I'm talking to a psychologist.
Now it's biopsychology, experiments of rats and stuff.
Is that what it is, biopsychology?
Well, there's I don't want to get too much into it, but there's cognitive and all these different fields within psychology.
That's great. But you finally went legitimate and got into comics.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, what happened was my senior year, you have to write thesis to graduate, and to ease up on my workload, I took some drawing classes. I figured I can draw, and there's no homework or anything like that. It'll be a breeze.
Yeah.
And I found that those were probably the best classes I took at college. And my teacher was very encouraging and said, "Have you ever thought about an art career?" And that kind of got the idea in my head. And so after I graduated, I told my parents I was going to take a year off before I applied to medical school. The idea of 4 more years of school and all this training did not really appeal to me. And so I put together some artwork, and I went to a convention, and I showed it to some editors at Marvel, and I got work. It took about 4 months. I was pretty fortunate.
Pretty lucky for us that you went to a Marvel editor. I mean, you might have gone to just an ordinary person.
The funny thing is that they were the only ones that gave me work. I showed it to a lot of smaller companies in D.C.
That's why they're smaller companies.
That's right. There you go, Stan.
Oh, well, that's really great. Yeah.
So ever since then, it's just been a roller coaster ride. Like this year has probably been the biggest year yet.
And now, do you mind if I tell the people why this is one of the biggest years yet? This is really such an incredible fact. It's hard to believe. Years ago, and over the years in the comic book business, if a book sold 500,000 copies, or 750,000, or 1,000,000 copies for a comic book, I mean, that was phenomenal. Well, this man, Jim Lee, did the highest-selling comic book of all time last year. He did X-Men #1, and Jim, I can't even tell him how many copies that book sold.
I think we sold about 8.2 million copies. That was the latest count.
8.2 million copies of one comic book, and Jim, you've got to show the book.
Well, we're still counting the results from Idaho and stuff. We got a lot of late straggler buyers. This is 3 of the 5 covers. I guess the other 2 are sold out. But they're all X-Men #1. They're all released in August of 1991.
Even Jim can't get them all. Now, I think you better explain what you mean by 3. Usually you do a comic book and it has 1 cover.
Right.
What happened over here?
Well, basically, recent history has shown that when they produce a #1 comic, especially of a popular title like Spider-Man or X-Men, there's a very strong response from the audience, the collectors and the readers. They'll buy multiple copies because they like it so much and they see it as an investment. So there was a feeling that they knew they were going to sell millions of copies going into it. And the feeling on everyone's part was, why not give them something extra? Instead of getting the same comic, we can give them different covers, and each issue actually has a different middle section, a different poster. So there's like different things in each one.
Let's see that poster, and let's see this poster.
Let's check out all the posters.
And hold it up long enough and give the camera time to get on it, because this is really interesting. These are 2 separate posters, the same book, but different editions of the same book, wherever the camera is. I hope I'm holding these the right way. And here's a 3rd poster here, right?
Right.
And there were actually a couple more that you don't have with you.
Right, the special edition had an inside poster and a little sketchbook in the back and everything.
And they're all different. Wait a minute, isn't this the same as...
No, the poster is
Am I
is in
showing
the middle.
the wrong one?
Yeah, there's like a middle ad here. So anyway, this is the poster here.
This is why they moved me out to the coast. I do things wrong occasionally. That's the poster, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, and also the covers line up to make one larger image. This is getting a little tricky.
Oh, that's great.
It's one of these.
You want me to help you?
Yeah, it's one
Where
of
does this one go?
I mean,
this would be one picture?
Right, right. And there's one more cover, and
there's probably something in between these two. Or
no, it's supposed to line up, I think.
Oh, it does, because
see,
there's, the horizon line of the rocks, and it comes together. You're absolutely right. These line up.
Right.
That's great.
Multifunction comics.
Yeah. That's great, he says modestly, of our books. Anyway, as I say, it's a staggering feat to sell over 8 million copies of one thing. And the multiple covers, of course. Now, what are you doing currently, Jim?
Well, I'm still working on the X-Men. I think I'm on issue 8 or 9, something like that.
You mean after selling 8 million copies, we haven't fired you? We're still letting you hang around?
Yeah, I don't know. You know,
aren't we nice to you? Yeah.
They got a cutback. Basically, a kickback. What am I saying? Cutback. Basically, I'm plotting and drawing the book. A plotter is sort of a guy that comes up with a story but doesn't supply the dialogue. And so the concepts and the new characters and the new villains are created by me. And then
you've gotten so much into the series with the illustrating it that now you want to contribute the story also.
Right.
So do you work with the writer and the editor and you say, this is the story I would like? I want you to notice, I ask you these things as if I don't know, but I don't want people to think I'm really this ignorant, but I feel it's the way to do it.
Right.
You know?
No, I usually will talk with the editor, Bob Harris, first, and we talk about possible story ideas. He goes, no, yes. And I go, okay, we'll go with that, and I'll flesh it out some more, and then I'll oftentimes talk to the scripter, the writer who's going to supply the dialogue and tell them what's going to happen and get their input. And I, you know, there are people in the studio I work with that I ask them for input. Pretty much anybody and everywhere. You know, the fan mail that comes in, I read it and I'm affected by what they say. You know, this character should die, and I go, well, maybe they're right. You know, so I try to be in tune to what the audience wants and to what my editor wants. At the same time, try to put my own creativity in there, my own. Tell my own stories.
You know, the funny thing is, we always feel one of the things I'm happy about at Marvel Comics is we do read the fan mail every day.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it can be funny, like with Spider-Man for years, 50% of the fan mail used to say, you've got to kill Aunt May. We hate Aunt May. We're tired of Aunt May. And we print those letters, and then the other 50% of the fan mail would say, if you kill Aunt May, we're never going to buy another copy again. So you have to use your own judgment, too.
Right.
But it's great to see what the readers want, and man, they sure let us know, don't they?
Definitely. It's great getting the mail.
Let me ask you another thing, Jim. You were talking earlier, and actually, I've known you, but we haven't really had that much of a chance to talk before, so I found this fascinating. You were showing me something that impressed me so much. You also know a lot about meme, don't you?
Meme?
Or mime. I'm always saying, you know, before I said the word, I say, I've got to say it right. I'm not going to say mime, that's probably wrong. It is mime.
Right.
It's from pantomime, that's how I'm going to remember.
It's one of those French things, yeah.
But somebody told me in France they say meme.
Right.
So if this tape goes to France, I'm correcting you.
I mean, I don't know why they get into that whole different pronunciation.
But show us a little bit about that, because you did a little before, and it was really great.
Well, I like to use it. I took a class in college, a sort of extracurricular sort of thing, and
when you should have been doing your psychology.
Right. And what they do in mime is they have a thing called tick and tack. I think it's been a while, but it's the ability to create the ability to create an illusion of weight or resistance when there's nothing there. And I actually think you can use a lot of those techniques, or at least the thinking behind it all, when you're drawing the comic books, because to create a successful book, and we'll go over there and I'll show you some stuff.
I can't wait.
Okay, you gotta take things to the extreme. You gotta if a guy's big and frightening, he should be huge. If a car is like skidding around a corner, the wheels should be coming up, and smoke should be flying, and papers should be flying. And the thing is, these are all little. You have to put clues and ciphers in to create the illusion of speed, of momentum, or whatever. And mime is sort of the same thing. You want, if something is heavy, you want to see it on the face, and you want to see it in their arms and the way they hold their back and stuff. So if there's like a wall in front of you, you have this moment of total relaxation, and then as you press up against the wall, you create tension in your arm. So it's been a while. So. And so if you have like a rope or something, so this is another example. So if you're picking up a rope, you would grab it like this, right? And then pull like that. And you can see where the shoulders go.
Yeah,
and
every
where
part
the
of your body is moving.
So if someone's pulling on this rope, you know, you would feel it in the head, and all these things will move as the things, as changes happen. And the thing is, there's no one pulling on this rope or whatever. You know, I have to create the illusion of someone pulling on that rope, and that's what we do with comics. Is you have to create the illusion of characters jumping and hitting each other, or lifting a car. You know, they just can't lift it like this unless they're incredibly strong, and that's the impression you want to get. But they should feel it, and there should be sound effects, and their face should be grimacing and things like that.
Oh, man, that was great. I used to put the sound effects in on the scripts when I did. That was the thing I enjoyed the most. I lettered them in myself.
Right.
And I used to try to do them phonetically. You know, I'd make up my own funny sounds. And once, I did a little caption that I was most proud of. I did a sound effect, something like Garumph. And I had 3 O's, G-U-R-O-O-M-P-H.
Right.
And I put a little asterisk, and on the bottom of the panel I wrote, obviously the 3rd O is silent. We got 1 nail on that. But what you just did is great, because basically it seems to me that every artist is really a director. You know, you're directing your own script, and you've got to be that way. You're working with actors. The only thing is you're working with actors that you have drawn, and I see that's even part of the note I have here. And can you give it?
Yeah, sure. I can show you. As far as the directing goes, you want to.
That camera is hungering for an example.
All right, here we go. Example 1. This is a Xerox of a layout I did, and essentially it just tells the story, and it's very simple, and blocks out the figures, and it identifies the characters. And I do just very quick gesture outline drawings, nothing too detailed, because at this point I'm just thinking about telling the story clearly, and also...
and where it'll appear on the page.
Right. And so, yeah, you are a director. You say to this guy, Sabretooth, you don't look frightened enough. Why don't you grimace a little more, and we'll put some sweat, you know, beating up on your face or something like that, and then we'll maybe put some action lines. There are ways to sort of accentuate the drama or the tension. So the final image looks sort of like this.
That's a heck of a difference.
Yeah, well, I put a little more work into this. You know, so, but the thing is...
There he is with much more of a grimace than he had right over there, right?
Right.
But you knew by doing that...
That's my shorthand, That's sort of my shorthand grimace, so when I go back days later and actually draw it, I go, oh, you should be grimacing. And then, you know, I put all the special effects really short with shorthand here, and then later I'll go in and put a lot more lines and broken glass flying and all that stuff. That's sort of like special effects. But as far as the directing, this is where it all happens as far as a comic book goes, because you're telling stories. That's what it all comes down to.
When you say shorthand, that's a pretty good example, because basically, I guess, the original rough layouts you make, that is shorthand.
Right.
And it's just little notes so you know what happens, and then you go back and you put it in.
Right.
You put it in English or in drawings in this case.
In many ways, the final drawing is actually not tedious, but it's just icing on the cake. But the hard part comes in doing this stuff.
Well, I don't know. You're keeping me in suspense, and we're probably keeping our viewers in suspense. But I would say in about 3 minutes, we're going to get over to that drawing board, and you're really going to show how you do it. Let me ask you one question, though. How do you go, in your own mind, how do you go from the basic idea to the completed artwork? What goes on in your head as you do it? In 2 words.
Right. Well, I visualize it, then I draw it.
Take 3 minutes.
All right. Well, when I read a story, or if I'm coming up with a story idea, I try to think of, I mean, since it's pictures, I try to think of images. What would be a good image? You know, locations and settings and things like that. You don't want the standard backgrounds and buildings. You want something fantastic. You want You want to excite the readers with stuff they've never seen before. So when it's hard to do this, of course. So I sit there and I kind of close my mind, or like especially if I'm in the shower, just let my mind wander, and I play the comic book in my head, and I see the characters run and down the hall, and I hear the dialogue and the special effects. It's like a little mini movie. And then when I get to that stage, that's when I start sitting down and jotting stuff down, and then moving scenes around and things like that. And then I would go from that and actually start doing the breakdowns like this, and hopefully it all fits within 22 pages. Because otherwise you're in trouble.
Now, there are many artists in the business who can draw a strip.
Right.
But the kind of guy who can sell 8 million copies, he can draw it in such a way that every panel is exciting, and that whatever you're showing the ultimate of that. So it really gets to you. And instead of me talking, we're now going to show you drawing it. Hey, why don't we go over there and do some artwork?
All right, sure.
I mean, I would like to do it, but since you're the guest, I'll let you do it this time. All right?
If you insist.
Why not? Listen, Jim, before we get started with the real heavy stuff, okay?
Right.
I think people might like to know, before you start drawing a strip, what is it you do? Do you do any mental gymnastics, any warming up? How do you approach it?
I do, you know, I'll do things like the equivalent of jumping jacks or something. Just loose little doodles, not finished drawings by any stretch.
Like, for instance?
Like, for instance, you're right, I should get to this. I'll just go in and I'll just go, okay, I'll just draw a couple hands, you know. Maybe they'll only have 2 fingers, it'll save me a little time here. You know,
only 2 fingers, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, you know, a lot of characters have 2 fingers.
You make them look so good, the 2 fingers look right.
Right, and then I'll go, okay, I'm done.
But you lie to us, that's only 1 hand.
Oh, you're right, right. Well, then, you know, I'll do that, and then maybe I'll have like a fist or something like that. Just these are things that you'll use later when you do a finished page, and just like little bits to practice on. And practice your foreshortening. You know, let's say this is the guy's...
Foreshortening, that's when it's coming right toward the reader, right?
Exactly, exactly. The illusion of depth in a 2-dimensional plane here. It's okay, you got and then, you know, do that kind of thing. Or
these are just rough warm-up sketches.
Right,
huh?
right. Just to get comfortable with the materials again. You know, so you know that you haven't forgotten how to draw. Because that is a fear among a lot of artists. Is like you wake up in the day and go, I've forgotten how to do it.
I mean, you might wake up one morning, my God, I can't draw anymore?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, because really, you don't know why you can draw better than this guy, you know, or whatever. So, yeah, I'll just go in there and I'll just practice some of the things I do, like eyes and eyebrows and hands. And
then you gain the confidence. You say, hey, I can still draw.
Yeah, you warm up and you prime the pump. That's, you know, what they say. And that way, when you get down to the finished piece, you're not as stiff. The characters have a little more life to them, the drawings.
I wanted to ask you that. Do you find the drawing, there's a rhythm to it, and sometimes you just feel the rhythm?
Definitely, definitely. I think the most successful comic book artwork displays rhythm, because a lot of new kids, when they're starting out or whatever, there's a lot of stiffness in their drawings, and it's because they don't have the ability to do gesture drawings yet. And a gesture drawing is simply just trying to capture.
You better use that dark one, because that doesn't show to the camera.
Oh, well, this is what I would want kids to do is just something real quick like this, which is, it's a gesture, it's a movement, it's very abstract, okay? And then I would use that gesture in my final drawing, trying to capture that movement in that figure. And the way I approach it is, I look at their chest, and their chest cavity has a certain shape. That's the socket for the shoulder there. And then their pelvis has a certain shape like that. And then so the leg sticks into that slot, right?
You know, it's fascinating, because when you first look at this, I have no idea what I'm looking at. And then after you join and connect a few lines, I can see the figure.
Well, that's the thing. It's not a mysterious process. It's just a bunch of lines in relationship to one another, creating the illusion of an object.
Wow.
And so,
but when you drew this, you knew what this was, and in your mind you knew this was...
Yeah, when I drew the pencil line that served as sort of the guide for what I'm doing now, yeah, I knew it was a guy throwing something or punching something or maybe flying. I don't know. It's one of those. It's one of those things like.
Jim, that's terrific.
Right, and then you put the head in here. Okay, so I put the other arm down here. Okay, and then we'll blacken in this forearm here to create a little depth, so it's going back there, and maybe cast a little shadow here. All right, so you got the guy. Put a couple ribs here, tricep, elbow, whatever.
Do you know the names of all the muscles and so forth?
No, actually I don't. I'm not that good with the actual anatomy like that. I was never... It's like reading the dictionary looking at those anatomy books, because they just show the muscles in a natural, unflexed state. They're very stiff. You can learn how to do that, but when figures move, you don't see all those muscles like that. They change shapes and dimensions. So I was much more into an artist named George Bridgman, and his stuff dealt more with the shapes of body parts and how they interacted and how their interactions created movement within the character. So like this guy...
Like, for instance?
All right, like for instance.
I'm going to keep you
All right, okay.
I'm sorry.
Like for instance, An arm, I can think of like, actually I do know some of the names, but you got the, well, I don't know what that is. I forgot, I've drawn a blank.
It belongs there
Here's the
right?
bicep, here's the tricep. Yeah. I think this is the deltoid, is that right? I don't know. Then you got the forearm muscles here. And I've separated everything, and these are the shapes, and if you had to do one of those like computer design grids or something, you can sort of see what the shape, this is more like, the bicep's more like a football, and this is more of like a sort of a triangular piece here.
And at some point you're going to draw lines and it'll come together and it's
right.
really going to look like
well,
something.
Yeah, they're like sausages and you stick them all together like that. So, you know, boom. That would be,
So when you're drawing this, are you thinking this?
Oh, all the time. I think I see, even though I don't have these grid lines, I see this shape as having a volume like that. And this having a volume like that. And it's very easy that way. Once you know the shapes and volumes, you can put them all together and you can do the complex foreshortening. Because, for example, if you had like a saucer, and then you had a, I don't know, round shape like this, and maybe like a cone shape like this, and a triangular thing like that, if you kind of stack these on top of each other and do an upshot of that, you can draw an upshot of anything on the human figure. Because basically the human figure is a series of different shapes like these put together. So let's put these all together and we'll do an upshot. So we'll see mostly the saucer from the bottom. We'll see a little bit of this, you know, draw through here for everybody. And then we'll put that cone up there and then the triangle on top. Create a little depth like that, right? So now if you can do that, you can do like a human face in perspective.
I could do the Mona Lisa once I get that.
You know, you find that, break it down to the simple shapes like the cylinder for the head and the neck and whatever. And
now you're looking up at that face. This
right.
is under the chin, right?
Right, right. Kind of a...
Just want to impress everyone what a wizard I am in perspective.
All right, so you got that going. Give him some hair. Right, and to me, I see the triangular shape of this nose, and the structure of the cheekbones, like that, and the cylinder shape of the whole head, and how the ears stick out here, and the cylinder shape of the neck. Right, so if you can do something like this, I think it's a little more complex, but it's the same kind of ideas, and that way I can draw a head looking down on it, you know, because you have the nose just stick out like that. I can do it from the side, any angle I choose. And so, in a sense, in my head, I've constructed the image, and then I can move my eye around the image and then draw it. Like, if I have a side shot of a car, usually I can draw from any angle just by kind of extrapolating what the rest of the car looks like. So
it looks to me as if you can draw something and you could start at any point. I mean, if you want to draw a figure, you could probably start with the big toe and work your way up.
Yeah, probably.
Or with the ear and work your way down.
What I wouldn't recommend doing that without first putting
that little rough.
That rough, because that way, if you start with the foot, toe down here, and you draw, you might find that the head goes off the page, and that's a common thing with kids. They start drawing and without thinking about the space they're drawing in and whether the drawing is going to fit on that page or not.
Well, let's talk comic books.
Right.
Let's do the shape of a panel, and let's see, how would you handle, you're going to do a panel.
Right, well, let's say this is the panel.
Right, this whole thing is the panel.
Right, and a panel, it's one of those pictures that you see in the image.
All right, now you want to draw, let's make something up.
Okay, go ahead, sure.
You want to draw, and this has not been rehearsed. In fact, I hope I can think of something.
Okay, all right.
So you want to draw a superhero,
right,
who is chasing a supervillain,
right,
and the supervillain is holding the superhero's girlfriend hostage. He's captured her.
Right.
He's trying to escape. The hero is trying to get him.
Right.
And the
this
villain
is from Spider-Man 129.
It very well might
I
be.
think you did this.
And the villain, wait a minute, it's not that easy. The villain is just about to jump out of the window with the girl because the villain can fly, and the hero has to get to him before he gets out of the window.
Okay, so we're doing it from the outside of the building. All right. Well, that's
no, it could be from the inside.
Okay, whoa, boy. Okay, all right. Well, what I think of first is I visualize it saying, let's just say an office or something like that.
Okay.
Right? Now, you can't see this, but let's see.
You got to use that light pencil that the camera can't see.
Right.
Okay.
Well, otherwise you're just going to have all these lines. You're not going to be able to tell when I come in with the marker and stuff. All right, I'm going to do something very...
Everybody be patient. He'll be there with the marker ready.
Right. I'm going to do something very clear, which is a straight-on perspective shot. And
I mean, looking right at it. You're not up there and you're not down here. Okay.
Well, the vanishing... I don't get too technical, but the vanishing points are like this, and we're looking straight on this wall. The wall's not at an angle to us. All right, so let's say we put the hero here. We put him in the foreground like this, and to create a depth within the character. We have him in the foreground. We're going to have maybe some furniture or something in the middle ground, and then we'll have the villain about to jump out the window there in the background there. And actually, even in the extreme background, we might even put some more skyscrapers. Actually, to establish the fact that they're in a city, we'll just put another window here, and we'll put a bunch of buildings.
Gotcha.
Right? So we got him over here, and the damsel in distress. Although it could be a guy in distress, and this could be a superheroine. We don't
That's
want to.
right. They can be anything.
In today's world.
But you'd better do it the way I told you.
Right, because I never want to deviate from the writer's script there. Okay, so I've got that. This is it. Now
you've made your rough layout, and you know now where everything goes, and nothing will go off the page or off
absolutely.
the panel.
From this point on, I can relax now because all the work has been done.
The thinking has been
right,
done.
Right.
And you don't like to think, so that's over.
Right. So let's say start over here.
I didn't mean that. Now we get the black pencil, and everybody can see. This will be fun.
Okay, let's see. Well, we don't have. Okay, I'll start with the ear. A lot of times I'll start with.
Yeah, you've always been big at ears.
Yeah.
Talk about that in the bullpen. All right.
All right, and that's the muscle of his neck there, and then okay.
This is the hero you're doing, who's
right.
in the foreground.
Right. He's got a big manly chin.
Always he ever. Yeah.
And maybe we'll put like some lines. That's the shorthand for like
He's tense.
He's tense. He's worried. Whatever. He'll give him some hair here.
If it were an idea, there'd be a light bulb over his head.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll give him some hair.
It's funny, even with that short sketch, he looks powerful and somewhat handsome. Even as rough as it is.
I'll give him a real thick neck and pretty much the I guess Roman features, which is sort of a bigger brow, a jutting chin.
Well, you're lucky I'm sitting here, so you have sort of a model.
Well, there you go. All right.
Okay.
Okay, and then we got the shoulder here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, tricep. I think that's what it is.
You're good at elbows too. I've been noticing that. You know, you make it look so easy. That's the thing that really is amazing.
Actually, it comes with practice. You know, I've drawn this a lot. I mean, hundreds of times.
Not this one picture.
No, but this kind of angle.
I know.
You know, every time I do a new shot, it takes a little more time. But generally, after the amount of work we do is very labor intensive. So after a while, you find that you've just drawn everything. You know.
Yeah, there's probably very little that I could suggest that you haven't drawn in some form or other, right?
Yeah, I've done a lot of different kinds of stories. I've done aliens and outer space and inner city and ghettos and all that stuff. And we'll give him a cape.
Okay, well, he's a superhero.
He's getting close to looking like someone.
I know.
But we'll give him a glove. There we go. All right.
All right.
And then
now
maybe
he's not Superman anymore.
Right.
Now you can mention it, as long as it isn't him.
Right. And then we'll put like a diamond thing that's just a design element or something like that. And then maybe a little rendering here. Okay. Now we'll put some back muscles in here, and then maybe a belt, and maybe the leg like that.
I've always been good at drawing belts, because apparently it's just two lines.
That's right. But what I see with that is there's a cylinder here. There's like a disc.
Like you were talking before.
Right.
Everything is
right.
a basic shape.
Right. And I've all these muscles here. All these muscles here have
of which you don't know the names of.
No, well, the arm ones are pretty simple. You know, those are the ones that hurt.
When you said
in
tibia
PE.
earlier, that really impressed me. Well, you said something like that, tricep or something.
Tricep, right.
You can see what an expert
right,
I am.
But like the back muscles, I have no idea what they do. But I'm not one of these guys that's a real stickler that you have to put every muscle in there. I think the most important thing is the shape of the form, the shape of an arm, the shape of these various things and how they interact with one another. Okay, so now we got him here. And actually maybe we'll put his hand here. Right.
Could you do me a favor? Could you give him a little beard, even though he's a hero?
Well, maybe
just so that in no way does he look like any character that we may be familiar with.
Right. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. We'll put a little stubble here.
Attaboy.
There we go. Stubble's in these days anyway.
That's great.
Okay.
Now he looks villainous, but that's okay, because today's heroes, many of them are rugged and
ambiguous
they don't look all that hero.
And I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get the bigger marker and we'll give him a superpower. Yeah, you can energize his fist. I don't know with what, but and we'll put here these, I call these Kirby crackles. I think you guys started. It creates the illusion or aura of energy.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
And you can just go on for these forever. I mean, there are people that just will spend hours on this. But since we don't have hours, it's the shorthand. And to make it seem like there is some movement where he's coming forward, I'm going to have this sort of trail back. See?
Oh, so you know the hand had come from there.
Right. And there's ways, if there was a guy here and he had walked through the room and he's smoking a cigarette, I'll show that smoke waft through back. And so you can tell that story. You can show that he moved through the room without actually drawing.
It's interesting, Jim, the way you referred to this as shorthand, and this is shorthand. And in comic books, there are so many shorthand things that you do, these little dots and lines and speed lines that can tell a whole story without having to explain it.
Right.
I just felt I had to contribute something.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you distill it, all it is cipher, because there's no way you can replicate reality here, nor would you want to. Anyway, all right, now we got I'll jump to the villain, because since I've already mapped in the background, I don't have to worry that it's going to work or not.
You know it'll fit.
I know it's going to work, I think. We'll give the evil guy the villain a cape too. That way I don't have to draw as much of him. And,
that's right, because the cape hides a lot of the body.
You got it.
Smart.
Right, and you know what? I think I'll even have the cape. Not that I would recommend kids to do this, right? But, make it move like that.
And from this comes 8.2 million sales, right?
Well, there are a lot of people that helped. Chris Claremont, the writer, and the whole Marvel marketing machine. Marvel's very successful in the comics marketplace. They know what they're doing.
You get your payoff later.
Right.
Now, this is the villain who's got the girl.
Right. And you know what? We're going to give him a lot of armor.
Because he is one powerful villain.
Right, gauntlet. And we'll give him a couple spikes here to give the impression, a little fearsome aspect here. All right, and then, I could cheat here and just give him a big bubble for a head or something. But
no, you're not going to do that.
Okay, right.
Not with millions of people watching this tape.
Okay. Since it's a smaller drawing, I'll have to go to a finer pen here to do the detail on this guy's face here. But let's do that. And because we're in the 90s and it's a little hipper, we'll give him a ponytail. And the thing. What I really think makes for successful comics is pushing things to the extreme, like taking it over the top, taking things to the logical extreme. If there's a villain, he's got a ponytail, that hair should be blown in the wind, And it should be longer than humanly possible or sanitarily possible. So we'll give the
cosmetically possible.
Right. And then we'll give him this evil grimace.
I hope the camera can catch that. I hope that's dark enough, because that's really coming along beautifully.
Okay.
Now, in comics, when you draw, even though the books are in color, you draw in black and white, right?
Right.
All our artists work in black and white, and then the coloring is done later by someone else, usually by someone else.
And because he's a villain, we'll give him a mask.
Villains really very often have masks, don't they? That's another bit of shorthand.
Right.
You know they're a villain.
That's right.
Unless it's a hero with a mask, then you totally confuse the reader.
Okay.
And villains also have big thighs, huh?
Big thighs, big boots.
Makes them powerful.
Big egos.
Right.
That's why they always lose. Sounds good to me.
That's your psychological training.
That's right.
That's right.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, now we got the damsel in distress here.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see her.
And let's say she's the
Press
secretary.
Down hard enough so that everybody can see her.
Right.
We're waiting for her.
All right,
Get a nice dark pen.
All right, we'll make her the secretary of this guy, whose secret identity, I guess. He's a businessman, and this is his secretary.
He looks like your typical businessman.
That's right, and
no doubt about that.
And he's secretly in love with her.
You not only draw the picture, you get a whole story in your mind when you do it.
Well,
that's the best.
I think the more successful artists will think more than just, I'm going to draw this guy's story or whatever. They're gonna put more of their own personality into it and what they think would be neat in the story.
I notice you have the villain miming. You're putting a little of your personality in.
Okay, and then she's gonna have this mini dress here.
Well, there she is. You've almost got her.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
And then I'm gonna take this pen so I can do the finer detail of her face. I'll give her sort of a 90s short little bob there. Some earrings. She's got these lines too.
That's great.
Okay, and then, all right.
So you were able to do it. You've got the hero over here in the foreground.
Right.
You have, oh, I didn't want to interrupt you. You want to darken his ponytail.
Right, right. And then I'm going to put this window here. And of course, most skyscrapers, well, at least some of them, you can't open the window. So we'll establish part of the story right now. We'll say, look,
he broke the window.
Absolutely.
Attaboy.
Right, there we go. We'll put the glass
he's strong.
in here.
Even though it's unbreakable, this guy can break it.
Right. And the thing about, I tell kids is be observant of everything. If you're in a dentist's office, look at it and try to remember what a dentist's office looks like, because you'll have to draw a dentist's office someday, and it's hard to find that kind of reference. You can just pull it from memory.
They're too busy trembling.
Right. So if I see broken glass or something like that, or a car that's destroyed, I'll look at it and see what kind of shapes and how the glass will break and the lines that you get out of that.
Well, you're known for your broken glass. Now I can see why.
And of course, you got to, to make it, you got to make it realistic.
The glass has to be on the floor.
Right.
Some would have
Naturally.
fallen in,
Right. Some outside. Whatever. Okay, so we put some glass here, and then we'll put a table here in the middle ground, which is,
Basically, what you're talking about as you talk, as you draw, these are pretty much the thoughts that would go through a comic book artist's mind as he draws the strip, then.
You got to supply all the background stuff. You got to supply
to make it look real.
You're the costumer, director, prop guy. You have an unlimited budget. You just have time constraints. That's what it comes down to.
Now, let me ask you, talking about making things look real, what do you think makes... There are so many comics. Some do better than others. What makes a successful comic? What's the difference?
I think it's putting the thought and care into it. A lot of people just want to draw heroes. They just want to draw women. And they'll slough off on the backgrounds, or slough off on the storytelling. And you got to care about every aspect.
It's all got to be good.
Yeah, and I think all the guys that are very successful at it are the ones that have the passion to put the time in on every aspect of it. To the broken glass on the ground, and if I in the next panel I do a reverse shot of this, I'm going to make sure the backgrounds are as close as I can get to it. You just don't want to be sloppy with it, and you want to have that dynamic feel.
Well, you know what might be interesting also. I think if we could grab another sheet of board now.
Sure.
Although I know you want to show off it. No, skyscrapers in the background.
Let me hear your idea first, and then I'll stop.
It would be cute if you could draw two little panels.
Right.
One, what you might call the right way, and the other the wrong way. In other words, why is one successful and the other is just a drawing?
Right.
Now, I can't think of any particular pose at the moment. Maybe you can think of one. You're not going to let go of this. You're going to finish this.
No. While you're talking, I'm listening.
No, I want you to be thinking also.
Right.
Okay?
Right. I'm thinking.
Now, on the next sheet, when you finish this,
right.
And after you've autographed it so that I can fight with everybody else to get it, on the next sheet, I want you to think of some very simple scene that you could draw quickly and draw one version of it that would be adequate for most any other comic book company and with any other comic book artist, but then show how you would do it to make it really a powerful scene.
Right.
Can you do that, or am I asking?
No. I know exactly. I can do something.
I finally met somebody who understands what I said. That's really great.
Anyway.
Hey, that is really great.
Actually, to make it seem like there's glass here is a little technique.
Attaboy.
There we go.
And obviously, it's a modern building, so this is the built-in fluorescent light that's right in the ceiling.
Right, and I would put one there, but I think the word balloon would go there. So, or maybe we'll go here.
You know what everybody would like to see, says he cagily? How do you sign your name? People would love to see your signature. When I steal this, I want it to be on there.
All right. How's that?
It's very legible.
Okay.
Okay, and people will have to kill to get this from me.
Okay.
Now, let's see what that next one is going to be.
2 panels, okay.
One is going to be adequate, you know, the kind that you might find that your beginning artist might do. And one will be a Jim Lee type.
Actually, you know, like we were talking earlier,
what is it we're showing?
I'm going to have 2 guys talking to each other, okay?
Right.
It's a boring scene.
Right.
It's a talk scene.
Unless they're you and me, of course.
Absolutely. In this one, it's going to be very clear what's happening and everything, but it's not a shot. It's not an artistically pleasing shot. This one I'm going to play around with and create a little more depth in it and play around with the mood and put those little extra things which make those panels better. Right. And actually, I picked this all up from the book you did with John Buscema, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And so there's nothing real new here, but
it's fun to see it.
Okay. Do your panel borders. Okay.
You're also known for your borders, I might.
What am I not known for? All right. Okay, so let's say we got to
For being in a bad mood, I think.
All right. We got
Now, these are the 2 men talking.
Right. You got a cigar here.
Now, it looks like he's standing. Is he leaning on a table?
Yeah, he's leaning. This is, because it's so small, it's just going to be a little shorthand.
Fine. So we're really talking layout. We're going to see a good layout and a bad layout. Or inadequate layout.
Right. Well, this isn't awful. It certainly tells what's going on. It's very clear and everything. And actually, you might even want to do a panel like this to start with, to establish a scene. I just, you know, I wouldn't do a whole story.
Quietly.
Right. I wouldn't do a whole story at this depth, which is a medium shot, at this kind of angle, which is straight on. But whatever.
Well, now I'm going to tell you something. I find that when an artist is really as good and as adept at as you, it is very difficult to draw something that isn't good. Because even though you're considering this fairly simple and uninteresting, I mean, that's really a beautiful layout, you know? It's concise, it's well balanced. But all right, now let's see how you're going to do to make it exciting.
All right, I guess basically his boss is bawling him out.
Yeah.
And from the gestures, I don't get that sense. You know, you might have written that the fat boss is bawling out his underling here.
Who is standing like this.
Right, and this adequately takes it. It tells the story, but it doesn't convey some of the emotional stuff that you want to carry through in your story. So in this one, I'm going to have the boss in the foreground. He's going to be much larger in the image, and he's going to be leaning in on the guy.
The baller is going to be much bigger than the ballee.
Right, and you can see I like to do a lot of stuff where I'm looking right behind the shoulder kind of thing. Right.
You don't have to draw as much. Now, this is going to be a Jim Lee bawling out.
Right.
I mean, we're going to feel the pain of that guy who's being bawled out, right?
Right.
And of course, he's got a cigar with a lot of smoke coming out.
I don't know if when you're writing and stuff, whether you like sound out the sound effects or whatever, because like when I'm drawing, I go, you know, whatever, and I always make the grimace of the character. So when I'm drawing,
absolutely,
yeah,
even though I'm not drawing it, I'm making face. My wife comes in all the time and says, "What's happening in here?" She hears the noises.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, and then he's got. And then this guy, to show that he's being flustered here, I'll have him reach in on his collar there. So he's got his finger in.
Trying to loosen his collar because it's getting very tight all of a sudden.
It's getting tight. Feels
getting
the pressure
hot in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the smoke is all over the place. And
that smoke is another little bit of your little shorthand.
Right. And I'll play with it and let it trail around like it's a living thing here. Because usually smoke just goes straight up. It's pretty boring. But you can take a license. You can take license with it and go, oh, okay, it's going to snake around like this. And I'm going to tilt his body back a little bit like that to show that he's moving away from the guy. And make him sort of a guy with glasses. And
well, I think actually it must be clear and plain to anybody that this kind, and there's your shorthand again.
Right.
That this kind of a layout certainly has more emotion, it has more drama, and it's more eye-catching.
Right. visually more
Well, I
appealing.
must admit,
You like that one? Well, maybe
nice.
maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know. You know, take all this stuff with a grain of salt.
No, but it was a good example.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because we've only got about 5 minutes more tape
Really?
left.
Wow. Okay.
Is there anything you yourself, without me butting in, is there anything you'd like to draw? Anything you'd like to show us?
Let me do like a more finished piece. Everything I was doing is still a little rough.
Okay, go ahead. In
okay.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay.
I'm not trying to put pressure on you,
Nah, you know.
But that tape is rolling.
Convention once
4
I
minutes.
did drawing in 60 seconds. You got to do this first.
3 3/4 minutes.
Okay.
I know, you always make your little loose thing with your... Well, most every artist does that, I guess, right? You rough it in very lightly.
People go to very elaborate measures to make sure that the drawing will fit in the space. They'll do even tighter stuff than this. Okay.
Not when they only have 3 minutes left.
No, absolutely. Okay. Eye here. I usually start with the eyes or the wisp of hair that is sort of a trademark that I put right between them.
Let me ask you a question while you're drawing, if it doesn't throw you off, and I know it won't. How many pages do you do a day, or panels, or however you'd want to classify it?
I'll typically do like 1 page a day.
Really?
I can do more.
And
but
is that pencil ending?
No, just pencil.
Pencil, 1
Right.
page of pencil. But of course, as elaborate as you make each panel, I can understand why it would be one. But 1 a day, the way you draw, that's quite a lot.
It is.
Do you put in a long day?
Typically.
Don't stop to scratch your lip.
Right.
It's now 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
You can scratch your lip and we're finished. How long a day do you put in?
I'd say I put in like 10 to 14 hours. And
Really?
Yeah, 6 days a week.
Oh, man.
Like I say, it's labor intensive. You're just drawing so much stuff. It's not just cars and not just people. You got to draw buildings and people and.
Yeah. Well, of course, if you put in maybe 15 hours a day, you might have sold 9 million copies.
Well, it's definitely worth it. I mean, it's a real kick. It's a terrific job. I'd advise it for anybody that.
Well, you seem very happy with it. And you seem somehow very relaxed and very easygoing. I figured a guy like you would be incredibly temperamental. There'd be no way I could talk to you. You'd be saying, "Shut up, Lee, this is my show and I'm going to do it." But I've been able to browbeat you, been rocking to you, and it's wonderful.
I didn't get any sleep last night.
Neither did I. Is this any special girl?
No, I'm just making it up as I go along. I didn't even realize she was going to be like a party dress until I said, "Okay, well, there you go."
I guess I was talking to you and you were almost drawing unconsciously.
Right.
Or
I do
subconsciously,
when
or
I'm talking
subliminally.
when I'm talking on the phone with people. I doodle little things and nothing.
Do you sketch all the time? I mean, even when you're not
Just
doing
doodles.
script?
I rarely do finish work outside of the work I do in comics. That's like real work. To take a drawing that you just kind of toyed with and take it to completion,
We have about 2 minutes, and I have a feeling you're going to finish this guy. Do you always draw with broken lines, sort of like that? There's a space there, and there's a little space. Does that give you a feeling of more looseness? Or?
The older style would be a fluid line all over the place. A lot of more, the younger artists will break it up simply because the same way people play with line weights, like this line will be thicker here and lighter up here, you can take it to the extreme where it vanishes.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Right, so it's like
gotten so thin that you don't see it.
Right. And
Keep drawing.
Okay, right. So
you're one of these guys that can't draw and chew gum at the same time, right?
Sometimes.
Now, you're going to finish it. We still have 2 minutes.
Right. Okay.
My gosh, we could give her a name and we have a new heroine.
Right.
Or villainous, depending on the expression you give her.
And actually, since it's comic books, we'll just give her a little holster here.
We're down to 1 minute, Jim.
1 minute, okay, all right.
You see, you do have a flair for the dramatic. You're even making this last drawing dramatic. Will he make it or won't he make it?
All right, I'm just going to pop in some blacks here. Kind of light for pants, I should say.
Yeah, I can tell that. I think you're really enjoying this. You do like to draw, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, between your psychology and your mime and your drawing and your articulateness It has been really a pleasure talking to you, Jim. And I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have.
No, definitely. It's been a pleasure.
And I've got to tell you that I think you've given concrete evidence why the name of our series is A Visit with the Comic Book Greats. I want to thank you very much for coming. It's been a great pleasure.
All right.
And I don't know how much more of this you would wanted to do.
I think I'm just going to sign my name or something like that. Well...
Stay tuned for Wildcats.
Howdy, true believers. This is Jim Lee here. I'm not normally like this. I've just been hanging around Stan Lee too much. Basically, we're here in Homage Studios. This is my little office. And this is a supplemental addition to the video. And I'm going to talk about my new book coming out called Wildcats, Covert Action Teams. It debuts in late July, early August. Hopefully I'll get it done in time. Let me show you around a little bit, and then I'll show you some of the characters I've got cooking. All right. Anyway, to my left here, I've got my bookshelf, got mail I have to answer, got little toys and junk like that, stack of comic books, calendar, up here on the wall. This is kind of where I plot my stories, and I put it on a erasable board, and then I have someone type it up so that it's legible. This is where I do all the work, the drawing, keep all your supplies, arm's reach, the almighty phone, all the image boys over here. I got a stereo underneath the desk, and the desk just serves to put the organizes the clutter a little bit. Anyway, that's my working office there. This is what we call the pit. It's more the bullpen area of the studio. And over here we have Scott Williams' comfort zone. We've got a TV, a stereo, a black leather sofa. Over here is Wolf Portasio's work area. That's kind of where we eat lunch there in the center. Over in the far right-hand corner is Mark Silvestri's work area. And that little head bobbing, that hand there, that's Joe Chito. Let's go. Okay, relax, man. This is our ping pong table. This is the way we kind of get a lot of our frustrations out in shape.
Serve it up, come on.
You're killing me. Anyway, enough of that. That's pretty much it. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about Wildcats, Covert Action Teams. They're all depicted here, about 8 alien beings, sort of, some are half alien. Essentially, they're led by this character here, Emp. I got a shot here, the actual comic book page. And he's not upside down, he's just kind of sleeping off a bad hangover in an alleyway. Anyway, I don't get too much into the character, but he starts out as kind of wandering, kind of wino, homeless person who's basically discovered by, let's see if I can find her, a sort of cosmic lady in the lake character called Void, who basically puts a quest on his shoulders to lead a superpowered beings called the Wildcats against the evil shape-shifting aliens who are trying to just take over the world. Basically, I'll just go through the characters a little bit. We met Emp and Void already. This is Spartan. He's a bioengineered leader, sort of combat leader of the team. This is Warblade. He's a Korean character that's able to elongate his fingers and other parts of his body, and he's a mean sucker. This big guy with the M on his head is Maul, and he's the big brawny guy of the group. in his arms is Voodoo, the New Age character of the group. Zealot, basically your female Conan the Barbarian, take no prisoners type. And the mystery man over here is the Grifter. Anyway, I don't really want to get too much into the storyline because then you won't, check out the comic book. But I will show you kind of how I do some of the work. Basically, my pages all kind of start out in these sort of scribbles. Get a shot of this. And, there are figures here, little figures running. Here's a close-up of a head. I think this is somebody slashing somebody's head off, or maybe that's... No, I think that's a car. No, I don't know. It's something. I usually figure it out. And this just kind of gets the gesture in there, and it does the storytelling for me very simply, very effectively. And then from there, I'll move on to kind of more finished pencils. You can sort of see from this double-page spread. This is kind of the finished head here. A lot of kind of technical junk in here, another big headshot here. And you can sort of see unfinished panels over on this side. Anyway, then I give that to Scott Williams, and he basically inks over the pencil line work and get to this kind of state. And he does terrific gradations here, just beautiful. And after a couple days, you get something that remotely looks finished, like I think this page is finished. And we haven't put the word balloons on yet. We do that later. Anyway, got a couple scrap pieces of paper here, and give you some hints on how to draw these characters so that someday you can take over my job, make my life easier. And I'll start out with M. Boom, 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 boom. He's always got a tie and a suit. Put that on him. His hair is always slicked back. Dark hair on the side. Got triangular eyebrows. Small triangular nose. Kind of smirk. Cigar, since he's the CEO of a company. Mischievous eyes with a little gleam in them. And, there you have it. I mean, I render the heck out of this thing and put a lot more lines and rendering and black and everything. But essentially this makes up M. This is the shorthand to this character, and this is how you recognize this character as being M. Next character we'll do is Void. And Void essentially is an oval head, like so. And 2 eyes. A nose. Lips. And then, she's got the funky costume. Thinner neck. And you put all this kind of line work to make the costume all shimmery. Makes her look more cosmic. And beef up her eyelashes a little bit here. But essentially, I may put a little shine here. This is essentially the character. Again, very simplified. I put more lines. More shading. Next character is Zealot, who is essentially Void with hair and tattoos. Makes my life simpler. Put your eyes in. And the nose, the lips, and then the hair kind of goes in, like so, little tattoos. Kind of a little broader cheekbones here. Zealot. Fun guy is Maul. You want to accentuate or increase the space between his nose and his lips, and then keep the space between his eyes and his nose small. Put an M on his head, give him a little pea brain. Kind of big jowl. Hunchback. Put his costume lines in. Yeah, top of the head a little smaller, actually. And there you got all. Then you got them all. And he actually can have his teeth showing if he's angry. There, you can be happier. Put the smirk in there. He doesn't know he's happy yet, but there he is. Anyway, last guy is the grifter. Very simple. Big sprout of hair coming out. Triangular shape. One ear. Two eyes. Black talon shapes around his eyes. A couple wrinkles. An overcoat. Black tunic. And voila, the grifter. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Look for Wildcats in early August, September, and October. And if the guys at Image approve it as a regular series, you'll see it in early '93. Take care.